Hello out there in cryptocurrency land. Welcome back to Real Crypto, where we take the markets one leg at a time while keeping the market cycle in mind. And we're going to talk about a kind of hidden pattern that I don't see really anywhere out there, but Bitcoin's kind of putting in right now. So let's get right to that. All right, so we're going to start here on the Bitcoin chart, right? We're going to take a log scale view of it. That's the non-log scale view of it. Let's look at the log scale view though for a second. We're going to zoom out, and what I want you to notice is a couple of things here. We obviously have a couple of large flags here in BTC going back. We got the capitulation base over here. And we also have kind of a large, a really, really big move here, really expansive off of the lows, very parabolic up to 20,000. There's nothing too surprising about that. Um, One kind of surprising thing is kind of the length of this base. Most people kind of expected Bitcoin to be kind of back up into highs by now, if not further than that. Um, but we're not. We're actually just under 10K, waiting to see how this base is going to hold up. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But what I want to talk to you about is a flag pattern. Now, I don't think this is anything extraordinary. I think this has been seen before. You can probably draw this a number of ways, this particular pattern. Actually, let's change this to the weekly so we're just a little more concise with things. There we go. This looks a little bit better on the chart. All right, so there you go. We've got a range set here for BTC. We actually have what looks like a symmetrical triangle. If you really want to get froggy, you probably could even omit a couple of wicks here and pull it up really tight. I'm going to leave it down here for a moment. And those of you that have been trading for a while kind of understand that symmetrical triangles can go in either direction. They're not always a continuation pattern. I view them as a 50-50 proposition, just due to the kind of tightening nature. Generally, though, markets tend to be bullish, and so I would consider this a continuation pattern. But this has struck me quite a few times, actually, since the capitulation in my Real Crypto Power Hour, which you can check at my website, real-crypto.com. But we've been looking at this in a number of ways, and I think there's a pattern here that we've seen before. It's on Ethereum. It's on Ethereum. Now it's not exactly it's not textbook. It's not a carbon copy of the Ethereum pattern, but it is a very, very large market cap coin coming out of a very, very extensive bull run, similar to what Bitcoin did. Now, keep in mind this was ETH's very first monster run, and it'll probably have a couple, one or two after that, 5,000%. But that BTC run, let's get back here. From the bottom breakout point, that was just as monster. 6,500 plus percent for Bitcoin, just kind of eyeballing it there. If I bring it up, it looks like about 7,500%. And I just picked a random part down here. And ETH had a 5,000% run. Right there, about 4,800%. We'll just call it 5,000. I omitted a little bit of price action there. And ETH went on for kind of a monster run here, right? So we looked at fractals in crypto. We were looking at 2015, 2016, back in 2017 and 2018. In terms of markets, that fractal didn't work out. This one may not either, but I definitely think it's intriguing. Now, symmetrical triangle and ETH with this large run, actually not really a huge run, only took 300%. Now, that seems strange to say 300% over the course of, what is that, a month and a half? 300% in a month and a half. I can't say Bitcoin won't do the exact same thing. I also can't say that it will. But the way this chart is setting up is eerily similar to what Ethereum did. You have a parabolic high, blow off top scenario, low, high, low. ETH kind of sucks. This won't keep the time scale. Parabolic high, low, low. And ETH actually went sideways in here. If you guys remember, I believe I had some videos during this time frame on it actually about this exact trade on ETH breaking out of this pattern. Kind of similar to what I'm doing right now with this Bitcoin trade. So right here in this sideways action, we went up, tested the highs, came back down, and tested this trend line, and then off to the races we go. So it's hard to say exactly if Bitcoin's going to play out in that exact same fashion, but I'm not eliminating the possibility. Bitcoin is behaving very nicely up here. We're up here towards the highs. We're not too excited, not yet at least. We have yet to hit the highs. We may go back and hit the highs and fail. And so this is probably a good segue into talking about current Bitcoin action. So if you look at the current Bitcoin action, actually, we'll just use this chart. We talk about the capitulation at the lows here. I'm calling this a capitulation candle, all right? And we're coming off the lows dramatically, but we're not really going up that fast. You can actually, you can see this move here had more velocity, actually took less time. That's 84 days right there. I'm actually not quite sure if we're at 84 days yet. So we're not quite at 84 days. That would be 84 days. So maybe it does have similar velocity. But if you look at what Ethereum did this. So Ethereum popped up and then came down, just kind of floated. It didn't get too far away from the highs here. So let's actually do this. This will probably make things a little bit easier for everybody involved here. So now Bitcoin or Ethereum's symmetrical triangle here was actually not quite that symmetrical. Bitcoin's is a little bit better in terms of its symmetry. A little bit better in terms of its symmetry. It's also taken a much longer to form. And if you notice, if you take the ranges here, what I was trying to get at earlier, if you look at the ranges from the recent tops and bottoms, we're actually kind of consolidated above the middle of this range, which is good. So if we take that into account, we take the tops and the bottoms here. We'll do it really quickly with this tool. Holding in the upper half of this range isn't that bad of an idea. It's not unheard of, so it's probably looking a little bit more closer to that. Probably in about 55 percentage range here. This is probably a little bit above that. But you can see a move down lower in BTC here would not be the end of the world. Now when Ethereum did it, it handled most of it actually on some pretty uneventful volume. So there's that low candle, and here's the whole consolidation. And you can see our volume was lower by a pretty significant amount compared to even the rest of the consolidation. And then even the run up, it was still pretty low volume right there. So we do run the possibility of low volume consolidation in here with a pullback. For would it be another 300% run? It's hard to say exactly if it's gonna be verbatim, what Ethereum did. So a 300% run with a breakout point of roughly $11,000 puts us at $33,000 for BTC. So the question is, do we have a $33,000 Bitcoin in our future? Because these are both log scales, so on a percentage, they're pretty close. Bitcoin has the bigger run, and then we'll see how this ends up. Now, if we go back to Ethereum's run, what you notice here is after that move, we had the spike to the downside. We come up in a somewhat similar fashion. The volume is definitely less expressive. I'm just going to draw that trend line, nothing too technical about that one. Less expressive for sure. We have more volume on Bitcoin here after this move. If this was Bitcoin, our volume would be actually probably up about here. But we stalled out a little bit and it ended up consolidating on better downside volume, but we really didn't get very far, and the trend line held it. And then we started to break out. You see the volume change, the volume difference here? Average volume declining. And then we see a lot of above average volume bars. Many in a row, like almost a month. There's like one day here that's under average volume. Other than that, maybe two, including this one. It was all above average volume. Okay, so we may move into a lower volume scenario before we move into a higher volume scenario, which actually makes sense with what the market typically does. The market will typically pull back on lower volume and then getting ready to run into higher volume. They're testing distribution, seeing if there's any distribution. And over here you see low volume areas, held the lows from there, and then kind of off to the races we went. And then oddly enough, very similar to how Bitcoin topped, Ethereum topped, at least on Coinbase. Maybe we'll look at some other exchanges here, but on lower volume, this rally, it was actually kind of a phantom rally. This is your blow off top sequence. The volume is not indicative of a blow off top, just the price action was, but the volume was negligible. And I remember in the moment being somewhat confused by this, and it went up much more than I thought it was due to the very low volume. But it did run nonetheless, kind of a nonsensical, especially because we had very high volume candles here on the breakout, and then we ended up breaking here, and the volume just never came in. So it ended up rallying. I don't even think I got involved in this run. I think I bailed somewhere. I don't remember. I actually got involved. I was involved here. It popped up and failed, and I got out. Then I got back in over like a week after I got stopped out over here. And then I think I exited somewhere up here. So I did miss the kind of tail part of this run. I just couldn't believe it was running on no volume. It just kept going. So, but anyway, So that's kind of what I wanted to show you guys. You've got maybe a template for the future with the Ethereum large bull flag, huge percentage run. Yeah, I think it's interesting. So the price action right now, we're in a very interesting situation. We have a broadening top here on BTC. Our volume isn't too bad, but we are slowly declining. And if we don't rally relatively soon, we're likely to falter and come back. And I don't know if we're going to test this trend line. History's shown us that, at least on what we're talking about on this video, that we may come back down to some other kind of a base. And this is one of our more likely support levels. We haven't seen a lot of testing at this area here. We've been above it for a majority of the time, but I think getting down here and testing that wouldn't be the end of the world. So if we come down, like we just discussed, if we come down and come and test this and do some stuff over here, we'll see what happens. That's the future. But right now, I think we're near some levels of resistance, and market's not giving up though. So if we are to break up from here, it'll get very interesting very quick. There will be a tremendous amount of disbelief in the market in the rally. I will also be disbelieving the rally because it seems like we need a break at some stage. We haven't had one. And as of late, Bitcoin has had the history of rallying and then just selling off. This was less a dramatic fashion, but still a huge sell-off. We still dropped 50+%. That's not normal. It's not a normal pullback. This is definitely not a normal pullback. And so we'll see if we get more abnormal pullbacks here or nicer, smaller consolidation. Again, maybe what this would do, as a matter of fact, thinking about it now, this would actually bore people to death, which is probably what Bitcoin needs right now. Bitcoin traders need to be lulled to sleep in order for us to maybe get up to 33,000. And who knows? That's just a target. I'm not going to bet the farm on a 33,000 Bitcoin by, sometime later this year, maybe next year. Not, I'm not betting the farm on that, but that is a possibility. If we do start to see some sideways lower action and lower volume, I will be looking for this breakout scenario. Not so firm on the 33K target, but overall, I like the setup. So, all right, guys, kind of a long-winded video, but thanks for joining me. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And please check out our realcrypto.com website. I'd love to see you join the community. Slack chat room for free if you guys just want to chat it up, or if you guys want some more professional services. We do every single day. Real Crypto Power Hour. You can join up on my services portion of my website right here. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.